Welcome to a profound exploration of American imperialism, presented in a single, comprehensive video. In this detailed journey, we delve into the historical and contemporary dimensions of American power and its global implications, crafting a complete narrative in one engaging presentation. Our exploration begins in the late 19th century, unearthing the roots of American imperialism. We examine key milestones such as the Spanish-American War and the annexation of territories like Puerto Rico and the Philippines, providing a foundation for understanding the evolution of American global influence. This video intricately weaves through the complexities of America's international actions, uncovering the strategic motivations and analyzing their significant impact on the world stage. We engage with expert insights, bringing clarity and depth to this intricate history. As we navigate through the annals of American imperialism, we unlock layers of knowledge, creating a comprehensive picture of this influential force. This exploration is designed to be enlightening for both history enthusiasts and those curious about global power dynamics, promising an eye-opening experience. Prepare to be informed, challenged, and intrigued. This is American imperialism unveiled, dissected, and analyzed for your intellectual enrichment. Join us for this thrilling exploration. The journey into the heart of American global influence begins now. If you find this video insightful, please like, comment, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content. Discover the history and present-day realities of American imperialism in this all-encompassing video. Explore its origins, global impact, and the strategic motivations behind America's global influence, all presented in one definitive piece. American imperialism is the expansion of American political, economic, cultural, media and military influence beyond the boundaries of the United States. Depending on the commentator, it may include imperialism through outright military conquest, gunboat diplomacy, unequal treaties, subsidization of preferred factions, regime change, or economic penetration through private companies, potentially followed by diplomatic or forceful intervention when those interests are threatened. The Rhodes Colossus. Caricature of Cecil John Rhodes, after he announced plans for a telegraph line and railroad from Cape Town to Cairo. The policies perpetuating American imperialism and expansionism are usually considered to have begun with new imperialism in the late 19th century, though some consider American territorial expansion and settler colonialism at the expense of native Americans to be similar enough in nature to be identified with the same term. While the United States has never officially identified itself and its territorial possessions as an empire, some commentators have referred to the country as such, including Max Boot. Max Boot, born September 12, 1969, is an American author, editorialist, lecturer, and military historian. He worked as a writer and editor for Christian Science Monitor and then for the Wall Street Journal in the 1990s. Arthur M. Schlesinger, Jr. Arthur Meyer Schlesinger Jr., born Arthur Bancroft Schlesinger, October 15, 1917 to February 28, 2007, was an American historian, social critic, and public intellectual. And Neil Ferguson. Neil Campbell Ferguson FRSE, born April 18, 1964, is a Scottish-American historian who serves as the Milbank Family Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution and a Senior Fellow at the Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs at Harvard University. Other commentators have accused the United States of practicing neocolonialism, sometimes defined as a modern form of hegemony, which leverages economic power rather than military force in an informal empire. The term neocolonialism has occasionally been used as a contemporary synonym for modern-day imperialism. Declaration of Independence. John Trumbull's painting, Declaration of Independence, depicting the five-man drafting committee of the Declaration of Independence presenting their work to the Congress. The question of whether the United States should intervene in the affairs of foreign countries has been a much-debated topic in domestic politics for the country's entire history. Opponents of interventionism have pointed to the country's origin as a former colony that rebelled against an overseas king, as well as the American values of democracy, freedom, and independence. Conversely, supporters of interventionism and of American presidents who have been labeled as imperialists, notably Andrew Jackson, James K. Polk, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, and William Howard Taft, have justified interventions in, or whole seizures of, various countries by citing the necessity of advancing American economic interests. as trade and debt management, preventing European intervention, colonial or otherwise, in the Western Hemisphere, manifested in the anti-European Monroe Doctrine of 1823, and the benefits of keeping good order around the world. History. Despite periods of peaceful coexistence, wars with Native Americans resulted in substantial territorial gains for American colonists who were expanding into native land. Wars with the Native Americans continued intermittently after independence, and an ethnic cleansing campaign known as Indian removal gained for European. Map of the route of the Trails of Tears. Map of the route of the Trails of Tears, depicting the route taken to relocate Native Americans from the southeastern United States between 1836 and 1839. The forced march of Cherokee removal from the southeastern United States for forced relocation to the Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. American settlers. More valuable territory on the eastern side of the continent. George Washington. February 22, 1732 to December 14, 1799, was an American founding father, military officer, and statesman who served as the first President of the United States from 1789 to 1797. George Washington began a policy of United States non-interventionism which lasted into the 1800s. James Monroe. April 28, 1758 to July 4, 1831, was an American statesman, lawyer, diplomat, and founding father who served as the fifth President of the United States from 1817 to 1825, a member of the Democratic Republican Party. The United States promulgated the Monroe Doctrine in 1823, in order to stop further European colonialism and to allow the American colonies to grow further, but desire for territorial expansion to the Pacific Ocean was explicit in the doctrine of manifest destiny. The giant Louisiana Purchase was peaceful, but the Mexican-American War of 1846 resulted in the annexation of 525,000 square miles, 1,360,000 kilometers of Mexican territory. Elements attempted to expand pro-US. Filibuster, military. Irregular soldiers in Beauharnois, Quebec, Lower Canada, 19th century. Republics or U.S. states in Mexico and Central America, the most notable being filibuster William Walker. May 8, 1824 to September 12, 1860, was an American physician, lawyer, journalist, and mercenary. Republic of Baja California in 1853 and his intervention in Nicaragua in 1855. Samuel Houston. March 2, 1793 to July 26, 1863, was an American general and statesman who played an important role in the Texas Revolution. Senator Sam Houston of Texas even proposed a resolution in the Republic of Baja California. Mexico in 1853. Gray area represents Baja California and red area represents the 1854 Gadsden Purchase. Senate for the United States to declare and maintain an efficient protectorate over the states of Mexico, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, and San Salvador. The idea of U.S. expansion into Mexico and the Caribbean was popular among politicians of the slave states, and also among some business tycoons in the Nicaraguan Transit, the semi-overland and main trade route connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans before the Panama Canal. Ulysses S. Grant. Born Hiram Ulysses Grant, April 27, 1822 to July 23, 1885, was an American military officer and politician who served as the 18th President of the United States from 1869 to 1877. President Ulysses S. Grant attempted to annex the Dominican Republic in 1870, but failed to get the support of the Senate. Theodore Roosevelt. Political cartoon depicting Theodore Roosevelt using the Monroe Doctrine to keep European powers out of the Dominican Republic. Non-interventionism was wholly abandoned with the Spanish-American War. The United States acquired the remaining island colonies of Spain, with President Theodore Roosevelt defending the acquisition of the Philippines. The U.S. policed Latin America under Roosevelt corollary, and sometimes using the military to favor American commercial interests, such as intervention in the banana republics and the annexation of Hawaii. Kingdom of Hawaii. On August 12, 1898, the flag of the Kingdom of Hawaii over Iolani Palace was lowered to raise the United States flag to signify annexation. Imperialist foreign policy was controversial with the American public, and domestic. Panama Canal. Map of Panama Canal Zone. The Caribbean Sea is at the top left, the Gulf of Panama is at bottom right. Opposition allowed Cuban independence, though in the early 20th century the U.S. obtained the Panama Canal Zone and occupied Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The United States returned to strong non-interventionist policy after World War I, including with the Good Neighbor policy for Latin America. Getulio Vargas. Brazilian President Getulio Vargas, left, and U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, right, in 1936. After fighting World War II, it administered many Pacific islands captured during the fight against Japan. Partly to prevent the militaries of those countries from growing threateningly large, and partly to contain the Soviet Union, the United States promised to defend Germany, which is also part of NATO, and Japan, through the Treaty of Mutual Cooperation and Security between the United States and Japan, which it had formerly defeated in war and which are now independent democracies. It maintains substantial military bases in both. The Cold War reoriented American foreign policy towards opposing communism, and prevailing U.S. foreign policy embraced its role as a nuclear-armed global superpower. Reagan Doctrine. Though the Truman Doctrine and Reagan Doctrine, the United States framed the mission as protecting free peoples against an undemocratic system, anti-Soviet foreign policy became coercive and occasionally covert. Though the Truman Doctrine and Reagan Doctrine, the United States framed the mission as protecting free peoples against an undemocratic system, anti-Soviet foreign policy became coercive and occasionally covert. 1953 Iranian coup d'état. Tanks in the streets of Tehran, 1953. United States involvement in regime change included overthrowing the democratically elected government of Iran. Cuban counterattack by Cuban Revolutionary Armed Forces supported by T-34 tanks near Playa Girón during the Bay of Pigs invasion, April 19, 1961. The Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba, occupation of Grenada, and interference in various foreign elections. Vietnam. Soldiers of the Army of Vietnam, ARVN, 1st Battalion, 6th Regiment, are airlifted to landing zone Kalat northeast of Cam Duc, Vietnam, by U.S. Army UH-1H Hueys during Operation Elk Canyon, July 12, 1970. Blue Diamonds. 2 Douglas A-4C Skyhawk, Bunos. 149551 and 149570, of Attack Squadron 146, VA-146, Blue Diamonds fly past the anti-submarine aircraft carrier USS Kearsarge, CVS-33. The long and bloody Vietnam War led to widespread criticism of an arrogance of power and violations of international law emerging from an imperial presidency. Martin Luther King Jr. Born Michael King Jr., January 15, 1929 to April 4, 1968, was an American Baptist minister, activist, and political philosopher who was one of the most prominent leaders in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968, accusing the U.S. of a new form of colonialism. Gulf War. Gulf War photo collage for use in the info box. Many saw the post-Cold War 1990-91 Gulf War as motivated by U.S. oil interests, though it reversed the hostile invasion of Kuwait. After the September 11 attacks in 2001, questions of imperialism were raised again as the United States invaded Afghanistan to overthrow the Taliban, which harbored the attackers, and Iraq in 2003, which the U.S. incorrectly claimed had weapons of mass destruction. The invasion led to the collapse of the Iraqi Ba'athist government and its replacement with the Coalition Provisional Authority. Following the invasion, an insurgency fought against coalition forces and the newly elected Iraqi government, and a sectarian civil war occurred. The Iraq War opened the country's oil industry to U.S. firms for the first time in decades, and many argued the invasion violated international law. Afghan Civil War. The military situation of the Afghan Civil War in 1996 between the Taliban, Red, and the Northern Alliance, Blue. Around 500,000 people were killed in both wars as of 2018. In terms of territorial acquisition, the United States has integrated, with voting rights, all of its acquisitions on the North American continent, including the non-contiguous Alaska. Hawaii has also become a state with equal representation to the mainland, but other island jurisdictions acquired during wartime remain territories, namely Guam, Puerto Rico, the United States Virgin Islands, American Samoa, and the Northern Mariana Islands. The federal government officially apologized for the overthrow of the Hawaiian government in 1993. Compact of Free Association. Representatives of the Compact States meeting in Colonia, Micronesia, in August 2019. Left to right, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Micronesian President David Panuelo, Marshallese President Hilda Heine, and Palauan Vice President Reynold Oilach. The remainder of acquired territories have become independent with varying degrees of cooperation, ranging from 3 freely associated states which participate in federal government programs in exchange for military basing rights, to Cuba, which severed diplomatic relations during the Cold War. The United States was a public advocate for European decolonization after World War II, having started a 10-year independence transition for the Philippines in 1934 with the Tydings-McDuffie Act. Even so, the U.S. desire for an informal system of global primacy in an American century often brought them into conflict with national liberation movements. The United States has now granted citizenship to Native Americans and recognizes some degree of tribal sovereignty. This segment of the video provides an insightful look into the territorial expansion of the United States from 1776 to 1994, a journey deeply intertwined with the roots and evolution of American imperialism. As the map of the United States expands year by year, we witness not just the growth of a nation, but a tangible example of how power and influence can extend across borders and continents. This visual analysis reveals the strategies, conflicts, and consequences of a nation in its pursuit of greatness and dominance, reflecting the values, ambitions, and complexities of an era of expansion and imperialism. Follow this fascinating territorial evolution and understand how it fits into the broader context of American imperialism, a key piece in comprehending the global politics and identity of the United States.
Keep an open mind, it's the only way new things can get in. Did you enjoy this video? Subscribe and turn on notification. If you enjoyed the content, give it a like to show your support. Thank you for watching.